Okie dokie. New Year's Eve morning. Homeless communist who's phenomenally happy. It's an open window. It's an incredibly warm morning, which is the most boring thing to say. I happen to be parked up at my very favourite lay-by at the side of a extremely quiet little byway close to a river just there. Having had an absolutely lovely night's sleep in another spot a mile away in some woodland. Right, why turn my camera on again? Because nothing worse than putting your finger up like that. And the lighting is probably makes me look like some kind of a freak. I have two experiences the last, let's just say, year and a half, from about June 2020. And they are certainly nothing to do, not of the echo chamber we all hear about. For a decade I've understood about that. Clear your cookies and your Chrome browsing history regularly. I have about 4 different accounts, not for surreptitious reasons, because I wish to be able to, if I'm using the internet to search anything, to have, everybody goes on now about I can never say that, algorithms. It was quite obvious 7 or 8 years ago that, a decade ago, that search results from the internet were not raw. So the solution to that is just reload Chrome, start from scratch. You can do that in literally 5 minutes. Go in and get search results that are not affected by anything you've looked for in the past. Right. It's too much of a waffly intro, but I'm afraid to say that all the public conversation, which I quite enjoy following to a certain extent, is perverted. And people also assume the smart-ass clever, well, you're in the echo chamber. Oh, no, I basically don't use any social media other than for attempting to communicate about causes that I've founded, been involved in, whatever. Here's the thing. So my experience, that's not some cheesy, oh, my experience. That's, I enjoy standing back and assessing, like Montaigne did, what's really going on. Simple as that. From June-ish 2020, in my region, which is, I just have to quickly explain my region. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was a very, very rural and frankly, very dinosaur attitude place. The blokes, the standard behaviour of certain towns around here, go out and have 5 pints on a Friday night and go home and be not very nice to the missus. Very, very, set your clocks back 200 years in many ways. But the people who work properly on the land are actually a bit different. They kind of oh, let's not go on about that. Right. Anyway, so over the last 15 years in particular, quite a lot of they would be above average in terms of the amount of reasonably intelligent books they have on their bookshelves. People have come to the region. Now, I have a whole range of acquaintances. And here's the interesting thing. Now, it's the public conversation, which I'm afraid to say, one can be cynical, but we only have this thing called the media. We get our information. We have two kinds of information, obviously, that which we hear from people we meet around and about, in the supermarket, face to face, on the street, blah blah blah, and that which we get from out from that's made available, sold to us, whatever. And that public conversation, when you stand back and are really objective, you realise how it's determined by a certain kind of female voice. Now, that will be shoot down in flames as a statement. Put that aside for a moment. I cannot only speak of my personal experience, but I know I'm fairly unique, and it's random, and it's just because I like. I knew there were no real dangers from wandering around. I spent May 2020 wandering the lanes, and the few people out having their exercise, I would stop and I would begin a conversation with them. It was wonderful. I had some great conversations with complete strangers. I had ways of putting them at ease. We had some great chats. Anyway, I have quite a lot of acquaintances, let's say within a 10-mile radius. And here's the thing. Of 20, 30, 40 middle-aged acquaintances, and then there's a range of acquaintances I have not from Facebook, from sort of another area which is thoughtful and very a range of women, actually, mainly, who you would say they are absolutely sensible, reasonably conformist people. Out of a whole range of acquaintances, both genders, you see, I'd forgotten, you get sucked into this politicking, essentially. I know a dozen. In fact, the only really quite pissed off with the agenda, no, not the agenda, because that's been perverted by, I'll come to that in a moment. Those who are not happy with what's taken place the last year and a half are exclusively middle-aged women. I know a dozen who think it's all wrong, and almost all of them, are mothers with teenage kids. I repeat this. The seditious naysayers saying this has all been wrong, overblown, we could go on forever, exclusively middle-aged women. I know I know two men. One, he was very Brexitean, likes the more intelligent conspiracy theories, and another is a curious chap who's, well, his skepticism comes from a slightly, frankly, neurotic position about health and life in respect of his children. Doesn't matter. I repeat this because it's dead important. Almost exclusively women, the naysayers. And particularly, now, if you come into, I have a magazine I picked up from the supermarket just to remind myself of what's happened. It's the most revolting thing that sort of looks like a colour supplement. I can't even remember what it's called. Here it is. Live 24. In other words, they want to turn the Y area into the Cotswolds. But that's what it says on the front for the Y and Cotswolds. The whole place has been turned into this lifestyle, bourgeois, perfect, expensive kitchen sales arena. But those people are here because not some twee Radio 4 traditional life. No, there was a healthy section of the population who did rugged outdoor things, and I spend a third of my life doing rugged outdoor things. I scythe hedges with my actual scything arm. It's more environmental. Horsewomen and some other countrywomen almost exclusively are like, this is all wrong. It's not, oh, we're selfish, our lifestyle is being hampered by this. No, they see through it. They know it's wrong. They're not very good at articulating why, but I've actually spent quite a lot of time with quite a few of them, teasing out a message, a way of talking about things. So I started saying, this agenda, let's avoid this word, because you have all the tinfoil hat brigade, the David Ickeys, etc. Frankly, so what if there's some kind of mega political agenda by the secret Davos? It doesn't. You won't be able to really stop it. It's only when their agenda has been processed, if they or taken forward, if they have an agenda, and then the democratic process has to come in, and the people will gradually have their say. You can't fool all of the people all of the time. Anyway, see, that's the problem. You get pulled aside into these rabbit holes of Alex Belfield type of. I'm probably being rude to him but there are certainly who is this Alex Jones type of people. But I was watching a film last night, a documentary, a report is the best way. It actually is quite good, except they as always miss a fundamental thing. I'll come back to that in a minute. If I even remember what it was, because it's so unimportant. And it was a very well produced one on the Marcus Twain 22 channel. And I haven't hardly looked at any of these things. Oh, by the way, you see, here's your thing. Your journalist of today, your commentator, because that's what they are. Your curator, your producer. On Farming Today this morning was a thing about non-hybrid seed, which needs to be protected and it has more resilience. Now, here's the point. Every time you have pieces like this, you have some kind of overexcited, and in the last year and a half, usually breathless curator, producer, reporter. I'm just going to call them curators. Horrible word. Everything in that program, Richard Lewalty wrote in his book, The Doctrine of DNA. That's the point. We've known all of these things that are issues, causes. They don't use the word cause. Cause would be a far better word. Concerns, issues, whatever. We've known about most of them for decades. And if these curators, these rather pathetic little curators, would actually introduce every such program with, as a wise person wrote 40 years ago, I think it might actually, every time they report something, every time they speak about something, it's as if it's a new discovery. They have, it's all friggin' narcissism. They've just discovered this new fabulous little group of people who are saving the non-hybrid seeds and putting them out. No, we've known about this for many years. It's why Lewontin's book. He died this year. You know? It's why his book was so great. I don't think anybody else had been as seditious as oh, my words aren't very good this morning. Anyway, why do I say? You see, you have this. It's not a contradiction. It's a dichotomy. I know. You see, it's as if there is something gender about this, and I think it's sort of not intentionally feeding off in a way things that have gone wrong with this thing they call woke. I don't use that word. On the one hand, okay, it's anecdotal. It's a personal experience. You cannot have a scientific analysis because you're sociologists who are far too damn woke. That we do know. I mean, sociology is great. It's interesting. It's so saccharine conformist, the idea of discovering hard, unpleasant, objective truths no longer is allowed within sociology. Sociology was a great tradition 40 years ago. So yes, anecdotally, the majority, the great majority of those who absolutely do not have it, that know there's something very, very wrong the way the establishment throughout the world or in the West have reacted to the pandemic are women. And I could line up a dozen who I've spent time with or been on devices speaking with, but almost all face to face, who really are very, very. They've also been heard. They're confused, but they know in their gut it's wrong, and they're pretty angry about it. But you see, men are not allowed so much, other than those who inhabit their little internet spaces. It's as if men know they can't be seen to be too in person, certainly in a public setting and a community. Men cannot be seen to be openly sceptical, worried about what the turn in society that occurred in response to this. And you see, here's the thing. Women are being used, and they're being used in this way. This media. And this is what you'll get shut down in flames for saying. I could plot them. I have kept a note of some of them. It is the middle-aged. Usually she has some kind of government or official, official is the wrong word, some grand title. It's the 50, 60-year-old women who are tasked, and you hear it in the way they express themselves. They have some kind of role in even in think tanks, but they come on into the media. They're so sure of themselves. You know, we've got this policy. We're doing this. You can hear it in their voice that they've risen to arms, but you see, they're doing it from a well-paid position in an office. Well, first of all, the rules don't really apply to them, of course. They could carry on going into their offices because they're key workers or they have some essential role. So in other words, their lives, their esteem has carried on, and now they've had even more esteem because they're given their credentials. The deputy president of some organisation which is in charge of blah blah blah. You know, most of them are Oxbridge. Oh, they hide that. Um, they've had a life which is, well, essentially. Now you can't say this, but their arrogance. I can hear their arrogance. They are so certain that they are the policy which they're. The media always puts them on as if it's some off the cuff thing. No, they want to be on the media promoting. I mean, most of them actually are PR, but of course they have some official other role. That message which they are so off the cuff, making them look good. You know, the way you're listening to this thinking, oh, what a wonderful person. Yes, we're safe in her. And it almost always is a her. That's the thing. We're safe in her hands. You can hear that she's up all night at her computer, valiantly battling through bureaucratic hurdles to ensure that this service and this product and that facility is here to save us all from this bug. You're being used. Women are being used. Women. And in a way, this is the thing that makes me happy. It keeps me alive. I don't know why, because you don't actually get invited for a cuppa. You don't actually get invited for dinner or anything like that, because deep down, even the sceptical women, they're still a little bit frightened to actually say, oh, come and have a cuppa. I have a couple of friends who are totally above all of this. Intelligent, thoughtful people. But women, this kind of, who is she? How can we describe her without offending everybody? This, you know who she is. She's got a expensively casual but still expensive woven skirt, and she looks all modern, and she'll probably have 3 smartphones on her desk, and she's very, very confident and smiley. But she's there. She's tasked. She's been pulled in as the expert to steer forward this initiative, and she loves it. But it doesn't mean she's doing anything that's actually based on any real, thoughtful, overview science. Women have been used. This is a political change, a societal change, where as always, the lowest common denominator. They're not. These things are not set up. They're not deliberate. But it's like a situation having arose because the thing is run by people in cities who were cooped up, most of them, and freaked out when hardly anybody was in the countryside. That's the truth. This machine went into motion that then, not intentionally, nevertheless uses the most, at the end of the day, the basest tools of marketing. That's all it is. You know, I found this 20 years ago. I lived a couple of miles outside a very small town, a pathetic little place, and I'd been a professional pilot for quite a few years, which I stopped because it's not compatible with my daughter's future. And we had animals. We had goats. We didn't have a little small pony then, but we were often out, and we had little pygmy goats, etc. And there was an Air Force recce run, or rather recovery route. In other words, there's a training area in the Welsh Hills, and you would find that the jets would transit quite close to the house where I lived. Okay, only a couple of times a day, but I've been a professional pilot for 18 years. I knew when a jet was at 100 feet, which is illegal. Anyway, after a few months of this happening now and again, being out with my young daughter and our animals, and a couple of jets came by one day at 50 feet. I put in an official complaint, and you get intelligent sounding, authoritative woman PR. Woman PR calling you. Because that way, this is 20 years ago, because you're not going to, on the phone, say to this woman PR, you are fucking lying, right? Next time, I'll have my camera and a trigonometry setup. You're lying. I know when a jet is breaking the law. Yeah, that's the clever. That's marketing. You're putting a PR on. Oh, she'll have some other official title. Low-flying military strategies, sequencing spokesperson, blah, blah, blah. No, that's lowest common denominator. And unintentionally, you got the same thing that's clicked into place here. Women, the kind of women who nobody is going to think they should be, that they should be criticised by anybody, have been reeled out, not in any concerted way. There is no big concerted conspiracy here. They're being rolled out in such a way that no, you can't possibly question their heroic up all night saving us all. So intelligent. Yeah, it's as if it comes through the broadcasts and the listening or seeing. I don't watch television, but I'm sure it's exactly the same on television. When these women are on, I don't know, actually I have seen some on internet media. The whole expression, the whole persona is that of all my years of expertise, my role in the department as under junior secretary to this person, specialist research scientist here. It's all come to this moment here. It's all been 4 decades of these professions and these professional roles, and of course the 3 MAs they've probably got. It's all been for this moment here. You know, be thankful, everybody. I'm here, and I have got no conceivable doubts about the strategy me and my department are employing, and nor should you. That's what comes through. That's called blindness. That's called, excuse me, I know a lot about the kind of things these people are taught on their MA courses, and it's the same old, well, listen to the other videos, okay? That's what's happened. Women have been used. And that actually, I kind of, if I were a woman, I'd be right pissed off.